morning, Earthlings. How you doing? Welcome to First Contact Radio. All right, let's jump into our cosmic for today. All right, solar wind 354.5 kilometers per second. Planetary K index is 2. Quiet. We got this coronal hole opening up again. Let's take a look at this. That's a big one, isn't it? Could be triangular in shape here. It still could be our triangle that's underneath all of this plasma. It's quite possible. 75% chance we're going to have an M-class flare. 10% we're going to have an X-class flare. However, the geomagnetic storm activity remains relatively low. There is a 45% chance there is going to be some sort of activity, though, of an active nature in the mid to high latitude. So something dancing across the ionosphere up in the upper atmosphere. You might get some good aurora pictures. Here's some latest news we need to be aware of. Sunspot AR 1471 erupted on May 7th, producing an M1 class flare with an Earth-directed coronal mass ejection, according to the forecast track prepared by analysts at the Goddard Space Weather Lab. The cloud will reach Earth on the 9th. So sometime within the next 24 hours, we're going to feel that around the Earth because it hits their universal time at 13:40 on the 9th. That'll be the 8th for some places still. All right, big sunspot, one of the largest sunspot groups in years, rotated over the sun's northeastern limb this weekend with at least 4 dark cones larger than the Earth. So look at that. That's what we were looking at yesterday. Astrologically, we have the same sun sign yet. It's going to be that way for a few weeks in Taurus. So we're dealing with an Earth energy, practicality, trying to get some practical things moving forward in our life as we've just entered spring. The moon sign for today is in between Sagittarius and Capricorn, so we're in that void of horse moon phase. We're going from a sign which is fire into earth, which is Capricorn, but today we're in between both, so we're getting a little dose of both of them. So we have earth for the conscious mind, and unconsciously we got fire and earth going on. Those are the elements we're working with today. The moon is 91% full, making its way back down to a new moon again, but it's going to be a few weeks because we're still out there. It's a pretty good sized moon yet. On the Mayan Oracle, we've made it to the 6th position, or 6th tone. So here we have 6th tone, which is called the rhythmic tone. The Daykin is the sun, reflected right here into 6th position. So today is a yellow because of the color, rhythmic because of the tone, sun because of the kin, yellow rhythmic sun guided by the sun. The supporting cast is the dog, the storm, and the dragon. The phrase for today is I organize in order to enlighten. Balancing life, I seal the matrix of universal fire with the rhythmic tone of equality. I am guided by my own power doubled. And here we have the Zolkin. Today we're at 11 Ben and a 16 Wu for the Hob. The reason today I am guided by my own power doubled is because today is the sun and the guide is also the sun. So that doubles the energy of the symbols. Alright, and there you have it. That's our cosmic weather for today, so you know how to surf through life and on the energy that's out there. Alright, the very first story, a friend sent this to me. This is very fascinating. I always like stuff about Atlantis because it has a very important point and place in my life and history, and as does, I'm sure, many of you as well. This is an untold history, and I'm going to play this. This is over an hour long. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm just going to play about 10 minutes and get you started on it. And then I have the link available so you can listen to the rest of it all by yourself or with groups or however you want to do it. Alright, here we go. I'm going to stop my rambling now and let's listen to this.
everyone. I'm a Atlantean from the Atlantean race that existed before the manifestation of Earth and the creation of the race as humanity. And I'm here doing interviews to answer the question of whether Atlantis was a myth. At the moment, within this world, within the stories that is circulating within and between and among human beings, Atlantis exists but as a myth. The history of existence is currently layered within memories that is existent as beings currently enslaved and manifested into a mind consciousness system that has personified the manifestation of what is now referred to as a human being. And with that, much of the history, the real history of existence, has been stored, hidden away, veiled with memories, systems, and time. And the view or perspective that human beings now have of history is much limited to only Earth's history, and then attempted or tried to make sense of from an existential perspective of the history of the Earth and humanity through myths, through stories, through conjecture. And we are here within these interviews with myself as an Atlantean from Atlantis and many races that will come to share the history of existence within the role each race played that existed before the manifestation of Earth and the race that is now known as humanity. And to realize that there is a reality within the origins of the myth of the existence of Atlantis and Atlanteans. And so from a certain perspective, yes, Atlantis is a myth as it exists at the moment within the minds of human beings. However, it was a reality, and I was part of that reality. And therefore, I will share with you the reality of Atlantis, the reality of Atlanteans as how we existed before the existence, the manifestation and the creation of Earth and humanity. And we'll start our interview with sharing how we existed then, before the creation of physicality, share how we existed, how we functioned, how we expressed, how we communicated, how we lived. And within that, change and transform and clarify the myths, the stories, into understanding and perspective of how it is that humanity came to be, and Atlantis and Atlanteans part within that. Each race that existed before the manifestation of Earth and human beings had a particular part, a particular role, which they played in the participation of the creation of Earth and human beings. And us as Atlanteans was, of course, part of it, actually the part of it. where we became the point that changed the direction of existence. We became the point within the timeline of our existence as beings that changed the nature, the manifestation, and the context of existence as a whole, that led us to where we are today as human beings on Earth within a physical manifested existence, where all that is here now is physicality, and this physical manifested existence. So let us start with ourselves in how we existed before the manifestation of Earth and the creation of humanity. There was a time before Earth and humanity where everything that was here was not as physical as one experiences it to be today. The substance within which we existed was more fluid and free, yet very stable. It was like the substance of existence was a presence, and we were manifestations that emerged from that presence and solidified as a part of that presence, but the solidity wasn't a physical form. The solidity was a densification of the all-encompassing presence as the substance that existence consisted of and existed as. So it was like each race was a part of the total substance of existence that emerged from the substance in a personified form, as though we were individual expressions from the total expression of what existence consisted of and existed as. So there was a oneness within us all as an existence that was here. So for a tangible perspective, you can have a look at, like, for example, a round circle, and within the circle would be the manifestation of existence, and from within that circle individual circles would emerge, and the individual circles that emerged from the greater circle would take on various different forms and shapes, but would still originate from that one circle as source. And that was the experience of ourselves as an existence. It was an experience that existed within each race. Like, we knew that we were part of each other and something greater at the same time.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News Report for today. I have 5 stories for us, so let's jump to our first one over here. This is a series of crop circles. 2012 crop circles, Italy and Netherlands. This was on May 5th. Let's look at this one first. Right. We have what looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-pointed star, it looks like, with a 1, 2, a 5-pointed star on the inside. this other one here. It's took in the Netherlands. Yeah, 19 circles. Perhaps these bigger circles here are what the planets. What are these other ones around here? I don't know. Quite a bit. Interesting. Alright, that's our first story, the crop circles. So check it out, the link's available. Next story from France on the 6th of May. UFOs hovering above Bordeaux. Alright, let's see here. It says we were standing, my mate and me, surrounded by about 20 policemen. When one talk said, "What is this in the sky?" As his words, we looked up to our eyes to the sky. We saw what you can see in the videos. We took the phenomena on tape with 2 different cellulars and 2 slightly different angles. Alright, let's check this out here. Alright, now we got what could be 3 separate, or this could be one of those triangles. But it does look like it is a triangular one the way it is. Because these 2 are really not moving. They're all kind of staying together. So either in tight formation or part of one craft itself. Alright. So there you go. It's for you to check out. Next one. Unknown daytime object hovering above Montana. Too far away to say it was a sphere, but this type of object is no stranger to me. Last time I saw one of these was mainly in 2009 and some in 2010. At the end of this object vanished, I would have kept filming it. My niece and I could no longer see it with our naked eyes. If we had better program, I'd show you slow motion, the blinking object that flew, but I don't. Alright. So, let's see what we have here. Alright. We do have that round circular orb just floating there. What could that be? Alright, so that's our object there in Montana. Next story here comes to us from the Examiner. California giant UFO witness. I almost drove off the road. A California witness driving north on Route 73 near Irvine reports watching a giant, long, thin, dark gray hovering object on May 5, 2012, according to testimony from the MUFON UFO Witness Reporting Database. I almost drove off the road, the witness stated. I know what it was not, but I don't know what it was. Not a cloud, not an airplane, not a helicopter. Truly, nothing I can know of unless military is doing something secret at old El Toro Air Force. The witness assumes the football field-length object was seen by many other people in the area. I assume thousands of people saw it from the ground. I assume it would be bombarded by reports. I called my friend coming south on Route 5, but she didn't see it. It was something. There aren't any images or videos, just the report. And our last one, this is also from the Examiner. This one is Tracy Pierce. Area 51, UFO sighting blamed on secret military craft. Alright. On May 7th, 2012, surprising leaked footage of an unusual UFO hit the internet. The UFO footage reportedly shows top secret supersonic military aircraft at Groom Lake in Nevada. According to third phase of the moon, citizens in Nevada have recently reported sonic booms and strange noises. Now we may be close to the truth of what is really going on at Groom Lake, otherwise known as Area 51. Groom Lake is a salt flat used by the military as a runway for the Nellis air bombing range test site airport located at the north of Area 51 United States Air Force military installation. The video shows one or more flying objects resembling airplanes with extra wings. People in Nevada were not the only ones to witness the unusual craft at Groom Lake. Other witnesses in Tennessee reportedly spotted the UFO as well. Alright, let's check it out. See what we've got here. Well, it doesn't look like we have anything here. I don't know where that took us, but it certainly didn't take us to the video. Let's go and let's try this again. Alright, here we go. Well, that's a weird looking craft. Look at that. Here we go. Alright. No, very interesting looking indeed. That is not a craft that we are normally used to seeing. It's like a double airplane. Like two airplanes merged together. It's like a big dragonfly. Look at that. Alright, well that's a most interesting plane. I don't think I've seen one like that. Alright, there you have it. That is our UFO news report for today. Let's jump away for a moment to wake up. I'll be back. Stay tuned.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw a UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, Big Brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if I land and two if I see? And I on the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
All right. Continuing on. We're going to keep going here. Ron Paul. This is a story from RT. Is Ron Paul electable? That's the question. Let's find out what is being said.
This hour with a look at some changes in terms of delegate counts for the two Republican candidates left in the race. Over the weekend, Ron Paul scored big time at the Maine and Nevada Republican conventions. Paul got 18 of the 24 delegates at stake in Maine and 22 of the 25 in Nevada. Those numbers, of course, a little fluid, and we may not know the actual totals until the Republican convention in August. But we do want to show you some of the headlines that we saw. Check this out, how Ron Paul could mess with Romney at the GOP convention. Ron Paul power play at Maine GOP convention. Ron Paul wins the majority of delegates from Maine GOP, and Ron Paul nabs Nevada delegates from Romney. Now, for a whole lot of people in the mainstream media, Ron Paul continues to be ignored. But some people are catching on, saying at the very least, he is a force to be reckoned with. And I want to talk more about this, so let's go to political analyst Shelley Roche. Hey, Shelley, how big of a difference do these victories in Maine and Nevada, and as we saw last week in Iowa, make?
Well, these victories are hugely impactful. What we're seeing is that the establishment is in real trouble now. One of their primary go-to arguments against Ron Paul has always been that he's unelectable and that a vote for Ron Paul is a wasted vote. And what we're all seeing this weekend is that this is just not the case. Ron Paul supporters are greater in number, more passionate, and what we saw this weekend, more organized than anyone in the political establishment has given them credit for.
And just to put it plain and simple, I do want to put a map up on the screen, kind of showing the breakdown of the states as of now and who's won them. This map that we're showing, Ron Paul is in the red there, and 11 states have gone to him. Romney is in the blue, and then, of course, Santorum and Gingrich no longer in the race. They've only got a few states each anyways. So when you take a look at a map like this, you got to ask, you know, is this contest really totally over, as a lot of people are saying?
No, it's absolutely not still over. You know, they're a clear signal that despite, you know, the establishment's control of the mainstream media and their unlimited resources, and, you know, that they'd have you believe that the race is over and that Romney is a shoo-in, we're seeing that a growing number of Americans are actually starting to think differently and ask questions, and they're expressing their dissatisfaction with our political system by getting out there and, you know, supporting a candidate like Ron Paul.
Over the weekend in Nevada, there was some interesting claims made. I want to play something for you, and then we'll talk about it.
Here's a guy, Mitt Romney supporter, wearing a Ron Paul shirt, sending out fraudulent documents trying to change the election.
So far, these claims have not been verified, but, you know, this guy here at the convention reporting that a Mitt Romney supporter actually put on a Ron Paul shirt and was trying to change some of the results here. Do you think there could be validity to this?
Well, it's certainly possible. I mean, if you look at what happened 4 years ago, the Nevada GOP shut down the convention when they saw that Ron Paul was winning. You know, we've seen any number of shenanigans happen because Ron Paul is such a threat to the establishment. So, you know, I think none of that is outside the realm of possibility, and I'll be very interested to see what happens.
I want to talk about some of Ron Paul's viewpoints. Certainly 4 years ago, as you mentioned, he was really ignored. As he made some interesting points in a lot of the debates that we saw a few months ago, you know, you did start to see him once in a while on CNN, on Fox News. Talk a little bit about what you've seen in some of his libertarian viewpoints, some of his arguments in terms of why this country is going in the wrong direction, what needs to change, that have actually seeped in to the more mainstream conservative political discussion.
Well, the thing that I've seen the most, you know, as you mentioned, is he was completely ignored and marginalized by the media in 2008. And, you know, he's still marginalized but he has been front and center a lot more specifically around economic policy, foreign policy, and I think just getting him into some of these media situations, commenting on economics and all of his ideology is starting to get people used to these ideas that were once considered radical, unelectable platforms. They're starting to hear about it, and then when you have something like what happened last weekend, it really validates that people are frustrated and that they're really responding to what Ron Paul's saying.
And Shelley, if you look at some of the recent polls in the presidential election, the campaign, I've been seeing in the last few days dead heat between Romney and Obama. But what happens if Mitt Romney loses some of those people who right now are supporting Ron Paul? What if, they don't show up to the polls? Do you think that it would still be a dead heat?
Well, I think if the worst case scenario, if Romney, goes all the way and things in Tampa, we don't see any challenge by Ron Paul supporters, I think he's still going to have to adopt some of Ron Paul's more accepted ideologies into his platform, because what the GOP has seen is that these kind of libertarian, independent, dissatisfied voters are not being served by the Republican Party. And so if he wants a chance to get those voters and to, have a shot against Obama, he's going to have to change his platform enough so that he will appeal to those people as well.
And Shelley, when we talk about the convention coming up in Tampa in August, there's a lot of things that people aren't really sure of. I mean, this strategy that we're seeing right now with Ron Paul, with sort of building up the delegate counts, these sort of arcane rules, Ron Paul and his campaign said from the beginning that this is the strategy they were going to use. And sure enough, it's slowly but surely working for them. What do you expect that we will see at the campaign in August? Sorry, at the convention.
Oh, I absolutely expect to see fireworks. I think Ron Paul supporters are so passionate and they're so engaged, and they learned so much in 2008 that we're already seeing better organization, more sophistication, and really, the execution of this campaign strategy has been so successful, despite all of the media blackout and all of that it's really encouraging. And I think we're going to see at the convention, it's going to come to a head, and we're going to have some coverage. There's going to be a debate, and that's really going to benefit the country.
Do you expect that Ron Paul could be a kingmaker, especially if he throws his support behind Romney?
Well, I really don't see Ron Paul throwing his support behind Romney. So I don't think that's likely to happen.
It's certainly hard to tell. There's so many differing viewpoints between the two men, but there's a lot in the inside circles who say at the very least they're friends. You don't hear either of them attacking the other one. So it should be interesting, and we'll keep an eye on it as things are changing, as we're seeing every single day. Political analyst Shelley Roche in San Francisco. Thanks so much.
All right, so very good. That's a good perspective there. Now we got some more here. This is Jason Burmis. And this says the Ron Paul revolution has only just begun. This is a report from the Intel Hub, so I want you to hear this perspective as well.
Jason Burmis here, reporting for the intelhub.com. And folks, Ron Paul has really done it again. What do I mean by that? Well, he's stuck it out. He's really gone the distance. He said to us, I'm going to stay in this race whether I win the presidential nomination for the Republican Party or not. And this has been his position pretty much since day one. He's always been in it to win it. But he said, if I can't win it, this campaign is about getting delegates and having a presence at the Republican National Convention and being able to really influence the party in some way, shape, or form, despite him not being the nominee. Well, what if Ron Paul could be the nominee? Well, that is a big question being raised in the mainstream media. Although, what are they saying? They're saying, although he's getting all of these delegates, and we'll get into that in just a moment, he can't win. Well, folks, that's really not the truth. And that is breaking through some mainstream media outlets. Let's explain. Over the weekend, Ron Paul, after being cheated in some of the primaries, again, in the mainstream media, even people from the left, Rachel Maddow, for instance, had to admit that he had been cheated out of Maine. Well, no more. In Maine, he actually collected 21 of the 24 delegate spots. That's right, they are Ron Paul supporters. Now, in Minnesota, we saw something extremely similar. We saw 20 out of 24 delegates being Ron Paul supporters. And even more surprising, or not that surprising for those in the know about Nevada, 22 of the 25 delegates are Ron Paul supporters. Very interesting indeed. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. In another mainstream media article out of ABC, where they state it's Ron Paul's not-so-secret plot, and of course try to demonize him as somebody who's going to disrupt the party's convention. Oh no! How dare we have freedom? How dare we go by the Constitution and Bill of Rights during this process? Well, they actually have to admit, folks, that he has a mathematical chance of winning in Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, Michigan, Montana, Nebraska, New Mexico, Oregon, and Vermont. And if Paul were to succeed in just 6 states during this delegate process, in other words, winning 6 states through the delegation, well, then everything is really up in the air. And they have to admit that in this ABC article, saying that the rules could change in almost any way, shape, or form. There's even a local reporter named Ben Swan for Fox News trying to make his way in the world today, telling a little bit of truth. It's called Reality Check. And Ben Swan explains how this process could work with a thing called Rule 38. The mainstream media is also reporting that this delegation process may not matter at all, as some of them may not be permitted to vote. And the person that may decide that is John Boehner. Now, that hasn't been confirmed yet, but his name is being thrown around. With all this great news, we know there is new light and hope for the Ron Paul campaign. Whether or not he becomes the president of the United States, folks, he has interjected so many real issues, and so many awakened minds have come about because of this. We can only commend his campaign and watch where it goes from here and see what the mainstream media and the mainstream party line does from this point.
All right. So there you go. Wait, there's more though. That's not it. I got one more piece. This is a report from Mox News, and this is going to give a little bit further explanation about also, the same victories that was going on. I want you to know everything that's going on out there. Here we go.
The Mitt Romney campaign had to put out this statement today, which is pretty strange considering Romney is the presumptive nominee. Quote, Governor Romney has a lot of respect for Dr. Paul, that's Ron Paul, of course, and the energy his supporters bring to the process. We look forward to working together to help Mitt Romney defeat President Obama this fall. As for individual state conventions, make no mistake that the Tampa convention will nominate Mitt Romney, and it will be his convention. Think about this. Mitt Romney, the presumptive nominee, the guy who racked up all those primary wins, thinks we need to be reminded that he will, in fact, be nominated at his party's convention. And the reason is headlines like these. Ron Paul wins majority of Nevada delegates. With Romney all but the nominee, Ron Paul snags delegate majority at Maine's GOP convention. If this sounds like news, you're not wrong, because Mitt Romney already won, in quotation marks, those contests earlier this year. Back in February, he won the Nevada caucus and the Maine straw poll. In Nevada, Romney got 50% of the vote, while Ron Paul just got 19%. But when Nevada sends 28 delegates to the party convention this summer, at least 22 of them will be Ron Paul supporters. Because this weekend, Ron Paul supporters took over the Nevada county Republican conventions. Now, the Nevada delegates are bound to the results from the February caucus, which means they have to vote for Romney even though they are Paul supporters. But that only holds for the first round of voting. If Mitt Romney doesn't secure the nomination on the first ballot, those delegates are then free to vote for whomever they darn well please, and we already know that at least 22 of them darn well please Ron Paul. In Maine's February straw poll, Romney got 39% to Ron Paul's 35%. But when Maine sends its 24 delegates to the convention, 21 of them will be Ron Paul supporters. Because Maine's February vote was non-binding, those 21 delegates get to vote for Ron Paul in Tampa. In other words, Ron Paul just won Maine. And he won Maine using the delegate strategy our own Anthony Terrell said he'd use on the night of the Maine caucus.
The real race is in delegates, and that's where the Ron Paul camp thinks that they're going to win is with the delegates. So some of the volunteers at a couple of the places I was at today were handing out sheets of paper explaining to supporters how they could become a delegate. So it's not just about the initial vote for the candidate. It's about sticking around and becoming a delegate to go on further and to vote for Ron Paul at the county convention and at the state convention as well.
These victories in Nevada and Maine are not unique. Last month, Ron Paul supporters took over the Louisiana caucuses, netting Paul almost as many delegates as Romney won in the state's primary the month before. In Massachusetts, Ron Paul's delegates were overwhelmingly elected over Mitt Romney's. Ron Paul supporters also got a Ron Paul supporter elected as state party chair in Alaska. Paul's supporters have also secured him at least half the delegates in Iowa and more than half the delegates in Minnesota and Washington state. All told, Ron Paul and his supporters have had victories in Nevada, Maine, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Alaska, Iowa, Minnesota, and Washington. That's 8 states. No, he is not going to secure the Republican nomination, but he and his supporters now have a foot securely in the door of the Republican convention. The question is, will Mitt Romney trip over it?
Okay, so you can see things are doing pretty darn good there for Dr. Paul. Pretty darn good. So, we have to believe, despite all he's not electable, people are thinking. Not just thinking differently, but people are thinking. For a long while, people weren't thinking. They were allowing the media to do the thinking for them. And the media wasn't doing you any favors, wasn't telling you what you really needed to know. Therefore, it didn't matter that you were thinking, letting them think. They were telling you bad information. But now people are thinking for themselves, and they're actually seeing that what Dr. Paul says makes sense. But more than that, people are believing, and believing is really important. We have to believe it, and then we can see it, right? So we're believing. I know a lot of folks say, well, the powers that be, they've already selected the next president. You know what? Maybe they have, but maybe this time people are going to rise up and it's going to be different. You see, in the past, the powers that be have done all of these things. They've gotten things over on the people. But doesn't mean it has to be that way this time. This time could be different. This could be the time when people wake up. This could be the time where the one that the establishment chose doesn't win. This could be the time that the powers that be don't get their way. This could be the time that the people rise up simply because the people decide they're going to start believing in themselves and each other and stop listening to the nonsense that the media is spreading. Now, upcoming later this month here in Chicago, is the summit that's going on. And world leaders get together to discuss events that are going to take place that are going to involve your life, my life, and everyone's life on this planet. But it's done behind closed doors. So, here we have security plan shuts down roads South Loop for NATO summit weekend. So if you're in Chicago, this is going to directly affect you. A large security zone around McCormick Place will be off limits to Chicagoans in Museum Campus, Lakeshore Drive, and several major expressways and streets will be shut down before and during the NATO summit under a plan revealed on Friday. All of this comes on top of a large restricted air space zone above the city. Anyone violating the space could be shot down. For some, there will be some inconveniences. There will be minor inconveniences, says Gary Schnecknell, Director, Chicago Office of Emergency Management. Every effort has been made to minimize the impact. Metra and South Shore commuters will be able to ride the trains that run under McCormick Place. They may be subject to TSA-style pat-downs and screenings, and they can expect delays for security sweeps. Service may be reduced during the summit, but those details are not yet available. Metro officers say that they have a plan finalized next week. Starting midnight, May 19th to the 21st, the Department of Homeland Security plans to shut down access in a security perimeter around McCormick Place where leaders from several countries, including President Obama, will be holding their meetings. That zone's boundary includes 21st Street on the north, 25th Street on the south, Indiana on the west, and Lakefront on the east. Officials at the news conference on Friday says residents and businesses will have access during the summit. DHS is still in the process of defining a fenced-off area around the summit location. Still, some residents expressed worry about street closures and a plan to ban parking on some streets for more than a week. You can see there's a lot more going on, what's going to be happening. So if all these leaders are coming into town, into Chicago, why is it so necessary for all these barriers? Why do they have to protect them so much? Don't the people love what they're doing? Are they not being welcomed with open arms? Is that why they have to have their thugs and their security all around them to protect them while they're making their sinister plans behind closed doors? Seems kind of weird. Seems like if they were well liked, that people would not have to have all that kind of security. All right. Here's some information. This is from the birtherreport.com. This one is constitutional attorneys and advocates respond to Brett Baier's unconstitutional definition of natural-born citizen. Brett Baier took a stab at things, and even though he seems like he's on the side of truth, justice, and letting people really know what's going on, well, he works for Fox News and his hands are tied. So here is, it says, following a snapshot from constitutional voices from across the web who weighed in on Fox News Brett Baier's unconstitutional definition of natural-born citizen, these statements are concise, factual, and rooted in constitutional law. After reading them, keep them and use them to help advance Article 2 Super PAC's goal to educate a majority of voters before the November elections. The electorate must be formed, and we are counting on you to help us educate a majority of the voters with the facts. Says Brett Baier's comment commits a common error. He assumes that natural-born citizen means the same thing as citizen by birth. They are not the same. A citizen by birth is one who, by constitutional statutory provision, is made or recognized as a citizen based upon where or whom he was born. Under Mr. Baier's views, a natural-born citizen then is a citizen of a particular nation only by positive law. If a natural-born citizen is defined by statute, as Mr. Baier claims, he is then, by statute. Congress can take away his natural-born citizen status, subject only to the 14th Amendment's definition of citizenship by birth. And even that definition can be taken away by the amendment to the Constitution. Indeed, according to Mr. Baier, no one could have been eligible to be elected president unless Congress passed a statute designating one's citizenship by birth, or until the 14th Amendment's definition of citizenship of birth was ratified. A natural-born citizen, by contrast, is not dependent upon Congress passing a statute of the Constitution being amended. A natural-born citizen is a citizen of a specific nation by the law of nature of citizenship. The law of nature of national citizenship is written into the very nature of the universe of the nation-states and is universal as to place, uniform as to person, and fixed as to time. By definition, the law governing national-born citizenship exists independent of any human power, legislature, or otherwise. That is why natural-born citizenship is not defined in the Constitution. Such citizenship exists whether recognized by positive law or not. Such citizenship is God-given. To qualify, one must be born to a father and a mother, each of whom is a citizen of a particular state, in order for the person to be natural-born citizen of that state. As you can see, this goes on and it has responses from a number of lawyers here. We have Cindy Simpson from the American Thinker, Dan Crosby, the Daily Pen. We have Jerome Corsi, WorldNet Daily, Mario Puzo from the Puzo Law Firm, Van Iron Esquire, Liberty Legal Foundation, Herb Titus Esquire, William J. Olson, PC. So there's a number of comments there and responses, things that you should know. You know, Obama is getting away with something right now. Every day he's in there, he's fooling somebody. Those of you who know what Obama's about, well, you understand. But for those of you who think that he is who he says he is, ha, you're being fooled. Open up your eyes, wake up. This is a story from InfoWars. Paul Joseph Watson, in an interview with CNN, Reddit founder Alex Ohanian said he would refuse to buy Facebook stock because the company's appalling attitude to privacy and its support for the CISPA bill. I'm not planning on it. I understand the business value of what Facebook is doing. We've never seen a company like this ever before, and it knows things about private lives that no one else does. And one of the big issues that a lot of us in the tech community have had lately has been their support for bills like CISPA that make it really easy for companies like Facebook to hand over private data about us without any due process. So that's why I'll be holding off, says Sohanian. So Reddit joins Mozilla as the only other major tech company to decry CISPA, with firms like Facebook, Microsoft, IBM, Intel, Oracle, Symantec, AT&T, and Verizon all backing the bill. Last week, Mozilla said in a statement calling the legislature an alarming threat to privacy, adding the bill infringes on privacy, including vague definitions of cybersecurity, and grants immunities to companies and governments that are too broad around information misuse. All right. This is a clip from Gerald Celente. He was on Fox and Friends. Gerald always has great information about the economy, the trends that are taking place. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Welcome back. Ever wonder what things will be like a few years from now? Well, we can't actually look into the future, but our next guest has an impressive track record of predicting it. So what do current trends tell us about where we are headed globally? Gerald Celente is the publisher of the Trends Journal, which you can find online, and he joins us now. Of course, he's accurately predicted the fall of the Soviet Union, the rise of Starbucks, the dot-com bust, and others. Gerald, nice to see you this morning. Welcome.
Being on.
So some of the things you talk about in your new Trends Journal, which is just out and we were reading, you talk about the presidential reality show, that you predict this is turning into a presidential reality show. What do you mean?
Well, look at it. I mean, it's a made-for-TV spectacular, starring contestants that will say anything, do anything, and promise anything to get elected. And I'm reminded of President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who said, any man that wants to be president has to be either an egomaniac or crazy. And when I look at this show, I mean, come on. I'm going to roll my sleeves up and bump fist you to show you I'm one of the guys.
You say that about President Obama. You also reference in the journal Mitt Romney planting himself using certain backgrounds and backdrops that are fake and preposterous.
Exactly. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put on a pair of jeans and a sport jacket and an open collar to show you I'm not a multimillionaire and just one of the folks. Oh, boy, am I tired of hearing that word, folks. Folks this, folks that.
Get used to that. It's going to continue. Next on your list in the Trends Journal, the economic recovery that isn't. You say just look at the numbers.
Look at the unemployment numbers that just came out again. They said 163,000 jobs would be created. We had 115,000. Then when you look at the jobs that are being created, oh, service sector, hospitality, low-paying jobs. Look what's going on around the world. The only way they're keeping this afloat is by building a new debt bomb. The central banks over in Europe, they just loaned 1.4 trillion euros to banks at 0% virtually interest rates to keep putting it back into the economy.
Which is where it brings us to our third point. You say this new world economic order, this idea of sort of the rise of the European power in a way, right?
Well, yes, and it's all built on debt. These aren't economic cycles, they're debt bomb cycles. And then look what's going on. Let's look behind the scenes. The BRIC nations just met, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and now, of course, South Africa. And what are they talking about? Only 4 meetings, and they're talking about establishing their own currency, their own World Bank.
Right.
So we're looking at a breakup of America in terms of economic sovereignty.
Read the Trends Journal. You can find it online and get it sent to your inbox on a monthly basis. Gerald, great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great, thank you.
All right. it's good to see Gerald on that show because the mainstream needs to report more stuff like that. Yeah, he's been doing the alternative media for a long time. His report's out there. The link's available. Check it out. All right. Two more reports here. The sun is cold. This is Louis E. Prada. The sun is really cold, contrary to what official science says. As actual proof, the outer space exposed to sun rays without any blockage from atmosphere is really extremely cold to approximately 3 K, which is negative 233 Celsius. Water freezes approximately at 4 Celsius. Why is it not then extremely hot? Since when the sun is resplendent in summer, for instance, and here are no clouds, is hot outdoors. Heat is caused by a thermal reduction between sun's rays and the electromagnetic planetary aura, the Van Allen lines, or the morphogenic fields of matter, as taught in ancient arcane wisdom and in the book Telos. See the following responses about temperature of space. There's a website here. Here is the text from the website. The question: all I wanted to ask you is, if we put a thermometer in space with no other light or heat source around and absolutely no background radiation there, what would it read? Would the temperature be cold or what? The answer: yes, it would be really cold. Temperature measures the energy per degree of freedom. For example, the way something can move, of whatever molecule happens to be around. So it becomes so cold that the molecules stop altogether, then this is the absolute zero temperature. On the Celsius temperature scale, this takes place at negative 273. We usually use the Kelvin temperature when 0 Kelvin is the absolute zero temperature. Alright, so if we put a thermometer in darker space with absolutely nothing around it, would first have to cool off. This might take a very long time. Once cooled off, it would read 27 Kelvin. This is because of the 3-degree microwave background radiation. No matter where you go, you cannot escape it. It's always there. Alright, and this article does go on, as you could see, but it proposes a very interesting idea that the sun is actually cold and not hot. Alright. And one last report here. The other day, I played the piece of Jamie Masson talking about the upcoming eclipse, the crop circle information. So this is a piece that talks a little bit about that eclipse. On May 21st, 2012, an annular solar eclipse begins over southeast China and passes over Japan. When the eclipse crosses the international date line, the focal date becomes May 20th. The eclipse then enters the California-Oregon border, passes into the late afternoon over Nevada, Utah, Arizona, a corner of Colorado, New Mexico, and ends at sunset in Texas. An annular solar eclipse occurs when the moon's apparent disk is just smaller than the sun's disk, and the sun appears as a brilliant ring. The spectacular sight can only be safely observed with approved solar filters, or by projecting an image of the eclipsed sun onto a flat white surface. Alright, let me go ahead and play this here so you can hear this. Alright, there's no sound there, so I'm just going to leave this here. The link's available. But I think it's something to consider because, remember, Jaime did talk about this event in there, the 20th. It's exactly the date that's mentioned with this eclipse. We've got the crop circle that talks about through some event taking place, a window of time between the 6th or the 20th and then the 6th. So we shall see, we shall see. This is a really great time that we're living in. It's a time for us to evolve past some of the bad habits that we've had down here. One of them is just believing, what I was talking about before. We have to believe in ourselves. If we believe in ourselves and what we have the ability to do, we can actually rise above these problems. Just because the powers that be want to execute a new world order doesn't mean they're going to accomplish their goals. It's like on any given Sunday when a sports team goes out there and plays. One team wants to win, the other team wants to win. Someone's going to lose the game. So just because they want to win out there doesn't mean they're going to be. Especially when there are millions and millions and millions and millions of more people on this planet than there are those causing the problems, than the powers that be. People just need to step up. We need to keep believing. Not believe that they can win again, believe that we can step up and move forward. All right, so as we do this meditation for today, let's think of that. Let's think of that idea of stepping up. So let's imagine ourselves walking down the path of life. And as we're walking along that path of life, I want you to imagine that you see up all around you and you feel all around you as if the energy is compressing you, pushing on you, putting a lot of pressure. And walking sometimes becomes slow. And everybody is trudging forward. But as you're trudging forward, I want you just to look into your heart space. And there in your heart space, I want you to see that light. A light, the strength, the love that exists. And I want you to let that shine outward. Just let that shine. Let that fill your whole body. Imagine all of your chakras are activated. From the bottom of the spine up, there's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, indigo. Just feel your connection, feel all that energy flowing through you, and just let that energy flow. And as that energy flows, and it's flowing through each and every individual, you notice that the pressure around you dissipates. And as more and more people turn on their energies, the pressure dissipates. Till soon there is absolutely no pressure at all, because the amount of individuals that have turned on, have woken up, surpasses and overwhelms the pressures and the problems that are existing. And notice as you look around how people are moving, walking confidently. Imagine that the world around you is being fixed. Imagine that those causing the problems are removed from their positions of problem making and replaced with those who are going to do jobs to continue to maintain our freedoms. Imagine as we move forward, our education and our intelligence grows. Our ability to communicate with others evolves. And as we keep moving along the path, cooperating with each other, we all hear the same idea over and over. We are the people. We've got the power. There's more of us than there are of them. We are the people. We've got the power. There's more of us than there are of them. And as you remember that and realize that and accept that, you strengthen the power of the people, and the power of the people stands against the tyrannies, and the tyrannies do not exist, for the people are now ready to speak. Imagine the world changing as people stand in their strength. Imagine the darkness being dissipated, and imagine the sun shining bright upon the planet. that shines of light, truth, love, and imagine us all stepping up to that next level of the galactic graduation that is our next step. Now let's bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of three. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. All right, there you have it. We've made it through another show, another prayer meditation. Go out into the world. Friends, have a great day. Just keep thinking positive. Keep thinking. Encourage each other. We're all in this together. We are the people. We have the power. There's more of us than there are of them. Once we accept that and understand that, there is no stopping what can be done and the changes that can be made. We just have to believe. That's it. We got to see it. We just got to believe it. All right? There you have it. I'll talk to you soon, folks. Have a great day. Peace. I'm out of here.